Hey there, so I'm just casually hanging out on my front porch and wanted to talk a little bit about voice and how voice works. So this is something that authors use to communicate personality in their writing, and this is something that is a little bit subtle, but there's also some component parts you can break down, and this is helpful as you're reading articles, as you're trying to determine whether or not they'll be useful to you, determining how much bias they might have, things like that. So the first component of voice I want to talk about is tone, and basically that is the attitude of the writer towards the audience and by extension the subject as well. So you might have somebody who's very enthusiastic about what he or she is writing about. You might have somebody who is very, kind of angry and standoffish. You might have somebody who is passionate in a lot of different ways, or maybe somebody who's trying to strike a more kind of neutral or scientific tone, that sort of thing. Then you also have the idea of diction, right? So kind of what words are being used, right? So you have also kind of tied with that is formality as well, right? So whether somebody's trying to strike a very, sort of formal tone, very academic, very educated, or something that might be a little bit more casual, a little bit more conversational. And part of what happens with the diction as well is this kind of idea of jargon, right? So there might be things that are specific, like if you're a sports fan, there might be technical terms that you might use to describe certain approaches that teams might have. If you're in the military, you have a bunch of jargon like AWOL and things like that, a bunch of acronyms. So if you have a writer who is explaining that jargon, that might be kind of a more inviting article that indicates that there's kind of maybe more of a effort to reach a wider audience. And if the jargon doesn't get explained, it might be a signal that, hey, this is just for people that know about this particular topic. And then finally, also just kind of personality, right? So what is the author trying to convey? How is the author trying to connect with the audience? What is the author like? And that's kind of gleaned in a way from what you get in the tone and the diction and the formality and all that. But that personality can also be embedded in there. I mean, again, why people tend to like certain types of writers might have to do with, again, that kind of notion of personality. So again, voice, something to look for, and we'll be looking at some articles in week 1 that will help us reflect that. Thanks.